Let's talk a little bit about possible solutions to those problems. Now I'm going to use eCash as the example because the individuals working on eCash are solely focused on solving these problems. The problem of money as a medium of exchange that could actually be a world global currency. Now, what is eCash? Just a quick introduction. eCash is a fork of Bitcoin. So there was Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin forked into Bitcoin Cash because they wanted to increase the block size, among other things, to focus on improving its use as a medium of exchange in addition to its growing popularity as a store of value. Then there was a falling out over developer funding. As I mentioned before, if you are not a miner or a holder and you don't want to wait for the price to go up to get the additional value, you need to be paid in order to work on improvements to the infrastructure. And that's what happened between Bitcoin Cash and then eCash. And so eCash split from Bitcoin Cash and now funds ongoing development of the network. The thing that makes eCash interesting is that it's primarily focused on being or becoming the world's best money. Bitcoin investors, they originally had that same ideal, but today they're primarily concerned about the price increasing over time. While some maxis, which they're known as if they only think that Bitcoin is the only legitimate cryptocurrency, they'll say one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, and that is referring to it becoming a global unit of account. And that ideal still exists. But most people buy Bitcoin because they want the price to go up. And they buy it thinking, well, it's going to be worth $1 million or whatever in the coming years. And that might be true, but no one's using it as currency. So it's good to have a cryptocurrency that cares more about being used to exchange goods and services than just what they called number go up. As I mentioned before, merchants have stopped taking payments, so it would be nice to see work being done where it could lead to a resurgence in cryptocurrency actually being used as a medium of exchange for goods and services. As I mentioned earlier with the blockchain trilemma, many projects focus on transaction speed, scale, privacy, security, or ease of use, all these different factors. They're usually specializing in one, like Monero would specialize in privacy and so forth. But eCash is focusing its entire roadmap on being good money for global use. So it's trying to break that trilemma and really just focus with that primary use case being able to send money to someone else quickly, effectively, and for low cost. Thus far, eCash has become very close to addressing many of these problems. It inherits Bitcoin solutions that we talked about already. So there's limited supply, predictable inflation until the point at which it hits its maximum, which is 21 trillion now instead of 21 million, just because they moved the decimal point over. So it's the same number of what's called Satoshis or sats in Bitcoin terminology. It's the same number. They just moved the decimal point over so that there's just two decimal places for the unit instead of 8. It uses proof of work as well. There's public accounting, so everyone can see the ledger. There's decentralized control. All the nodes participate and they choose to participate in the network. There's security and there's low cost. But additionally, it has some other solutions. So it funds mining, staking, and development to protect and improve the infrastructure. So 3 elements, not just the mining piece. So if you are a miner, you still get rewards. If you are a staker, so if you hold and you contribute to the security of the network through your stake, you get rewards for that. And development is rewarded, so it's funded continuous improvement in the infrastructure. It actually has lower transaction fees than Bitcoin. It's a fraction of a cent. And it prevents 51% attacks that I mentioned, in the sense that it has the proof of work, the Nakamoto consensus. And so if 51% of the network were to be bad actors, then in just proof of work, it would be able to take over the network. But eCash adds the avalanche consensus mechanism as well, which is how they're able to offer staking rewards. And it's a combination of those two mechanisms that would require the mining to have 51% bad actors on it, and you would have to buy and then stake through the avalanche consensus mechanism at least half. The calculations are it would have to even be higher than that, probably about 70 or so percent, in order to take over the network, which makes it much more secure, because if someone had to buy the entire staking amount at once, the price of eCash would skyrocket, and all the current stakers and all the current holders could start to sell off and save themselves from the attack and profit enormously from the attack. And it would cost a small fortune to ever even attempt to do that, and then you probably wouldn't even be successful. So you have just spent millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars and achieved nothing. So it's very, very rare, and the 51% attack is prevented because of the avalanche consensus addition. As I mentioned, it breaks the trilemma, so it allows for high speed, high scale, maintaining its decentralization, having that security. 3-second transaction confirmation times, that's the target. We're currently at 1 confirmation for that, which is about 10 minutes on average. But they're aiming for worldwide scale, being up to millions of transactions per second, which is many times more than even the Visa and MasterCards of the world, who process transactions in about the thousands. But at the end of the day, it's really just making money exchange faster, easier, and more secure than any other form that's ever existed, including just handing someone money. Because you have to make change. You have to make sure, is this dollar bill legitimate, right? That slows down the process of handing money. It's not just here's money and you're done. You could, on eCash, with one of the eCash wallets, like CashTab, for example, you could pull it up. You can just scan the person's QR code, hit a button, and boom, they have the money now, and it's instantaneous. There's no counting. There's no change. There's no, is this legitimate money? It's there. And once what's known as pre-consensus is completed, it will only take 2-3 seconds for the transaction to be completely final. So there's absolutely no risk of that being undone in some way, shape, or form, because it'll be firmly in there and locked in. And again, that's faster than taking the money from someone's hand and putting it in your wallet. And there's no chance of you walking away and having someone pickpocket you right away and take it. So it's going to be better in just about every way against just about every other form of monetary exchange.